popping on still, but
Sure.
welcome. We have Kristina Swift. She is our regional sales manager of managers, correct? Like of everyone.
Yeah, I'm the VP of sales for North America. So I manage the sales teams for Canada and the US and training and all of that stuff.
Perfect. And I had a chance to hear her speak at our Rise Up retreat, which is a 2-star and above executive retreat. And she blew me away with her connecting tips and intention tips. And sometimes it sounds basic, but I will tell you, when you have intention about building your business and who you want to connect with, everything changes. You would be quite surprised at how things can change and who, a lot of people say to me, I've run out of my warm market. Have you heard that before?
Yeah.
And maybe just sharing a little bit about your background and story. I have edified you a lot with your success and, another company, and then popping over to Isogenics as you saw the vision. So I'm excited to hear from you.
All right. Are we ready?
We're ready.
Okay. Well, first of all, just to kind of, build my own credibility with you guys so that you know that I've walked in your shoes. I've been in the business about 21 years, and the first 15, actually not 20, well, maybe 20. The first 15 though, and actually the first 3, I was actually a recruiter for the first direct selling company I was with. Like I literally had to recruit 15 to 20 people every 2 weeks. And I had never done it before. I had a bit of sales experience, but not that kind of experience at all. I had never gone out cold calling or prospecting or anything like that. So I learned how to do it a long time ago because it was my job. And then the next job I had for 10 years, I actually taught district managers how to prospect and recruit. And so I had to do that by actually going out and showing them how to do it, how to talk to people, what to say. And then I helped them help leaders build their teams. So that's been the bulk of my career. But 2 years ago, and I'm going to focus on this experience with what I did. 2 years ago, I did a startup, and I was hired to build the sales force of a network marketing and direct selling company from the ground up. So I had 1 year, and my goal was to get to 10,000 associates and 35 million in revenue. That was what I was getting my paycheck for. So I'll just tell you, I'll fast forward to the end. We were able to do it in 8 months. So in October, I nailed down those numbers, and it's probably the thing that I'm most proud of, because it was later in my career after I'd been in an office, I'd been head of sales, I'd been head of operations, I'd done all this stuff, but I hadn't gone out and had to do it for a long time. And I was like, well, if I'm really going to be a relevant leader and I'm really going to teach other people and train other people, I have to go back out and do it again, because it's different now than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So it was the best experience. It was the hardest work I've ever done, but it was the best experience. And it really did teach me about being intentional every single day. So I'll break that down a little bit. If you're serious about this, the single most important thing that you have to do is commit to talking to people every single day. And I don't mean enrolling them or recruiting them. I mean building rapport and making a strong connection with 5 people a day. Sometimes I did 10, but 5 was my minimum standard. I wasn't ending my day without meeting 5 new people, finding out about them, because it's not about you talking to them all about Isogenics. It's meeting 5 new people a day and asking them questions, as if you were at a party, getting to know somebody. Honestly, take the pressure off yourself about signing them up and all that stuff, because that will come if you do a good job right at the beginning. So it's everywhere you go, be intentional. I stopped going through the drive-thru at Starbucks, and I started going inside and standing in line so I could start a conversation with somebody. Instead of paying at the pump, I would go inside. I hadn't been to a bank, inside a bank, in years. But I started going inside so I could talk to the teller. And I've recruited tellers at banks. It's amazing when you start just being intentional and also being aware of your surroundings. If you're going to pick up your kids from school and there's other moms and dads out there, start a conversation. You guys are standing around waiting. Start talking to people. What do you do? It's just like you're meeting somebody at a party, but do it every day, everywhere you go. And just find out 2 or 3 things about their life. Do they like to travel? Are they going on any vacations this year? Do they both work? Just typical questions that you would ask people and listen because they're going to be cues that they say, are you going on a vacation? Well, no, we can't afford it this year. There's a big cue, right? Oh, really? You know, why are you both not working? Like, you just keep the conversation rolling. And at the end of that conversation, if you made a connection and they like you, they will want to and be open to having another conversation with you. And that's your goal, is at the end of the few minutes you get with them, that they want to talk to you again and that they're willing to give you their contact information so you can add them to your, your social media or your phone list or whatever. Here's one thing I will tell you. I stopped using 2 years ago business cards, because when you hand somebody a business card, a paper, like, you don't get their information back. It's like a ticket for them to not give you their information. I'll call you, don't call me, right? So I learned very quickly to get rid of that. And so there's an app called Haystack where you can have a phone business card. You can design your own on your phone. And get this, when you meet somebody, you can say to them, let me text you my business card. And then guess what? They give you their number and you have their contact information. And there's no awkward moment where they don't want to give you their contact information. So that was like my very first, when I got out there, lesson was like, there's got to be a better way because this is not working. So that was one thing I learned out there. And I got a lot more contacts than I ever did before when I migrated to that. So that's the first thing, is being in person and just starting lots of conversations. You all can do it, by the way. Every single one of you can do this if you choose to and you decide to. Because if you do this every single day, there's going to be people who want to know what you're doing right away. I mean, they're like, I want to look like you look. I want to feel like you look. I want more information right away. So you're going to get some of those. You're going to get some people who are like, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. You'll get a lot of those, and you'll just get a lot of no's. But if you add them to your contacts and they see you on social media and they run into you and they see other people following you, their time will come. It might not be today or 2 days from now or 2 weeks or 2 months. It could be 2 years, but they will eventually come. Long after I left that company, people were texting me. So it just goes to show you timing is everything. So don't worry about that. Just talk to people. And, everybody's getting approached on social media from so many different ways that when you are prospecting on social media, this is what worked for me. And I really feel like it kept me true to myself and it kept me very authentic. You can do your, posts that you do out to everybody, that the usual ones that everybody's doing. But what I would do is on Sunday night, let's say, I would go through my A's and B's in my Facebook friends. And I would look on their wall and I would take notes. Like, I would look at what they're doing, what's going on with their kids. Are they traveling? Are they complaining about anything? Like, what's happening in their life? And I would send them a private message, but it would be a personal message about something I saw on their wall. Like if it's a sports mom and I can see she's traveling with her kids every weekend and they're in hotels every weekend, I would say, hey, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much you're traveling. Looks like you're, Joey's, having a great hockey season, whatever. But, I would love to tell you about a way to keep them healthy, keep healthy while you're on the road. It's hard when you're in restaurants, blah, blah, blah. Or you could say, I know how expensive it is to be traveling and staying in hotels every single weekend. Would love to share something I'm doing with you. So it's something that really speaks to them and their situation. And I had a lot of success actually getting people interested and curious to at least have a conversation with me when I did that. So that was my social media strategy. And I would be pretty religious about it. Like Sunday nights, I would do A's and B's, pick, a few people. Then the next night I would do C and D and pick some people from those. And I kind of did that all the time because I was adding new people always to my Facebook. So that is something that you definitely might want to try. And then also, I don't know if you're in LinkedIn, but I was surprised. I didn't really think LinkedIn would be like a major, and I didn't get a ton, but I would get, like, I would just post like, health and wellness posts, like just different like science posts, stuff like that. And I still get that now. I'll just forward something that I got in my inbox from Isogenics and I would put on LinkedIn. And I've actually had a few people like that I don't even know, like send me a message. So even LinkedIn, make sure you have a profile and make sure you stay active on there, because what I've learned about prospecting is you need a lot of irons in the fire. So don't just do one thing. Do 3 or 4 different things all the time, because you're going to generate activity, from all of them at different times. So that was social media. The other thing I did that really helped me get leads faster is I did events. So I would go on Eventbrite, and I should have done this. Usually I do it before I get on a call in a certain geography. So a couple weeks ago, I did prospecting on a Pittsburgh call. And so I went on, and they had like 350 activities, like events that were going to be happening in the next 3 weeks after that call. And they didn't know anything about any of them. So there's tons going on, especially from now to like through the holidays. Set up a tape. There's health and wellness events. There's marathons. There's like all kinds of things where you can go set up and sample. And people love vendors that sample. If you sample, you're going to have the biggest lineup at your table. And the benefit of setting up an event like that is, first of all, you're going to meet people you never would meet before. And if it's at like a health and wellness event or a marathon or something like that, it's like-minded people who've probably not met Isagenix yet. The other thing is, when they stop to sample, and it slows them down so that you can actually have a conversation with them and talk to them, ask them questions and get their contact information. And I would always do like a raffle of some sort, so that if for some reason my table got busy and I couldn't like have a good conversation with them, I could at least get them entered into my drawing, so I'd have their contact information and I could follow up. So, and you know what I would do with all of this, because I'd get 50 to 100 in a day, I would call them and tell them they got a free they want a free sample, and go bring them a shake and have a conversation with them, or send them a shake or whatever. But there's just so many different ways. So I love events. It will like fill your pipeline of leads for a few months. If you do like a couple, like at least 1 or 2 a month, you will meet tons of new people, and you'll be amazed at how lucrative those events can be. So that was the other way. I would always like plan out my calendar at least 90 days at a time, and have like events over a 90-day period, because I knew for sure I could probably recruit out of each event at least 10 people. So it would take me a long time to do that in a one-off situation. So that was just my other strategy. So I had my in-person strategy, my social media strategy, and my event strategy. And then I did parties. I mean, not parties like old-fashioned parties though. I did fun socials, like an hour and a half max, in and out. So I started with my friends. All my friends and my family were my first hosts because they wanted to help me and I could count on them. So I would get them to host, and you should get them to host. We're going to launch our seasonal catalog, and I just did a training on the seasonal sip and sample. Go back and listen to it. 3 easy steps to find a host and get them booked. But getting your friends and family to do it first, because it gets you comfortable with doing it, number one, and no judgment there. And they're going to help you. So they're going to make sure they have people there. So it only takes a couple people at each of those who get interested, like an hour and a half of your time, and you enroll maybe 1 to 3 customers with a pack. Is that worth it? Like, that's a good return on your investment of time in an hour and a half. And believe me, if you can get 10 people there, you're going to enroll 1 to 3 customers for sure. And then the people who didn't do anything that night, or that couldn't make it, have a backup plan. Get them on a call, schedule a coffee or something where you can meet with them either one-on-one or in a small group offline. But every time you do one of those little social hours where they can sip and sample, you can share your story. Customers on your team are the best people to host. Those people that tell you, I don't want to do the business, I just want to be a customer, great, then help me out, because I am doing the business and I need to meet new people. Will you host for me since you love the products? And customers that love the products make a great host. No pressure on them. They just have to get people there. And then they can get free product credit, which they love. But what typically would happen with people like that, in my experience, is if they have a successful social and they see how excited people get and people enrolls a customer, at the end of the night, you could say to them, okay, I can give you the product credit, but 2 people here tonight want to order a pack. Do you want 300, do you want like the money, the $320, or do you want the product credit? Like, it's a no-brainer. They're going to say, oh, well, I could use the cash. So often they'll end up becoming associates, and it's a great way to get customers to see the other side of the business. But I love doing the parties. And, you know, if your goal at every like social could be to get one more person to book, that'll keep your calendar rolling and you'll have a couple a month. And again, it's all about having different things going on all the time. Because first of all, if you're just doing social media, you could build an entire business a few years ago on social media without barely talking to anybody. That's reality. You could do it. But the algorithms have changed. Every single company's on there. It's harder now. It's going to take you much longer if you're just relying on social media. So my advice to you is I was very successful having 3 or 4 things always going on. And then I was never relying on one single strategy. The other thing is I'm somebody who gets bored. So if I was just doing one thing, I would get tired of doing that all the time. And we are all like, I don't know about you, but I get my energy from other people and they'll get their energy from you. When you connect with somebody in person and they like can feel your belief and your confidence in the product and how much you believe in Isagenix and the product and the solutions and the opportunity, you can't get that on a Facebook message or a text message, right? So in person, you connect with people fast. I mean, they like you. They either like you or they don't. And I'm assuming you would be liked by everybody. So I think it's, you know, having a lot of things going on at the same time and being authentic. Like, don't be fake, don't be icky, be yourself and find the words to use that like you feel good about, because it's not my words, it's got to be your own words. So really take some time to think about how you want to craft your messages when you start a conversation with somebody. But the best way for me is just to ask questions. Do less talking and more listening. When you meet somebody new for the first time, ask lots of questions. And believe me, people love to share with other people. So you'd be amazed at how much people will just open up because you ask the right questions, and you'll find all kinds of stuff. And all you need is that 1 or 2 things that they share with you that you can connect to Isagenix. So I'm open to questions if any of you want to do any questions. I probably talked for about 20 minutes straight there.
That was awesome. Hello, amazing, which is why I was so excited to have you on here. I know a couple that I have just right
Sure.
off the top of my head is if you want, you know, someone to host, like we call them healthy happy hours or socials. I love that name.
Yeah. Don't call it a party. Definitely.
Yeah, no, we want to stay away from parties. And thank goodness you also shared, like, get off of social media. If you're going to build a network marketing business, you've got to learn how to talk to people.
Absolutely.
Get good at practicing, which is why I love events, because you can practice 15 to 50 to 100 people.
Totally. And bring somebody with your team. Yes. If you're doing an event, don't do it alone. Bring somebody from your team that's new, because that's the best way to introduce them to prospecting, because people are coming to you. So it's not intimidating and they're not going to feel like, oh my God, I have to like randomly talk to people. People are going to come up to your table. So it's a great way to introduce somebody new that's just starting to build to prospecting, because it's super easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So what would you say is like your biggest tip for helping people invite people to a social? What's your best tip for getting people there from the person you're helping host?
So definitely lots of ways of inviting. So I would always have my hosts create a private Facebook event and put all of their people on social media that they want to attend into that group. Because leading up to the social, you want to create curiosity and fun and excitement and make them feel like they know they're going to have an amazing time and they're not going to want to miss out on being there. So leading up, you can post fun recipes that they're going to be able to try when they're there. Like I would do really delicious posts of something that they're going to be able to taste. I would do like before and after pictures, testimonials, get on a Facebook Live in the group and, mix it up. So you're not just posting, but there's actually some live talking too. So you want to get them super excited. Do an incentive. If you bring a friend to the social, you and your friend get something free. That'll help boost attendance a little bit. So you'll definitely want to create the Facebook group just to get them excited. You'll want to invite, like in your phone, all your phone contacts, create a text group. You could do GroupMe. That's a really easy way to put them in a group and communicate with them and remind them, send them fun pictures, send them, testimonials. You can do it that way too. You'll even want to have something, it sounds old school, but something in your hand you could hand somebody. Keep them in your like keep them with you in your car, your purse, whatever, because you'll run into somebody and you'll have a conversation with them, maybe someone you haven't seen in a while, and maybe they're kind of interested, and you could say, well, why don't you just come? We have this, this social book. Just come and check it out and try the products and see what you think. No pressure. Do you want to have some on hand that you could randomly give to people too? And then ask for help. Like the people that maybe you know somebody or a couple people, get them to invite their friends so that you are really guaranteed to have at least 10 people at your social. So you have to use lots of different ways to invite. You have to follow up probably 3 or 4 times in a 2-week period before it happens.
Love it. So you don't put together a Facebook event page in like 3 days before.
Right. No.
No. We are planning. So this is something that I do with a lot of serious builders that do consistent also.
Yeah.
Socials. So people know, oh, this person's not going away. Oh, they're still doing another one every single month, right?
Yes, absolutely.
It's always really huge. Once a month. Okay. And then what would you say would be like your price point for an event? Like, did you have a max that you would spend for an event?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends, but I did not spend a lot of money. I mean, I was in a startup company. I had no budget. So I don't think I spent really, honestly, maybe more than $150 on a full day event. And I would always, like, you can find out with those events what their expected attendance is. Mm-hmm. So I would also look at that to see, like, and geography is important. Are they going to, what's around there that people are going to, like, what other little towns are around for people to come from? And I would call and ask, how many people did you have go through last year? Mm-hmm. So I did my homework a little bit, but I didn't spend a lot of money. And you'll find that there's tons of events on there. The other thing is a lot of, like in the meetup groups that I would join, and I don't mean join meetup groups that are for networking. Like those are boring, and I actually had the worst results from those. The meetup groups that I joined were things that I enjoyed doing. So hiking, yoga. I did join, I was telling somebody to join the other day, a friend of mine who does this, who joined Isogenics. I'm like, join a book club so you can volunteer and bring the snack. I mean, honestly, but in those meetup groups, and some of the ones that are like social or any chance where you can be a guest speaker, that is awesome. Like I did a lot. I joined meetup groups, and each time they would just choose one person to like educate them on something or whatever. Well, we have so much we could talk about, right? And at the time I was with a jewelry company, but I would be at meetups where the guest speaker was Isogenics. And I remember when I would leave, I would look back and she would have 4 or 5 people waiting to talk to her after she spoke.
Wow.
So any opportunity where you can speak at one of those events, they're always looking for people to volunteer to speak. So those are things I did too. Even like things like Chamber and Rotary Club and all those things too are always looking for people to come in at lunchtime and be a speaker. They never have enough people.
Awesome. Okay. Lastly for me, for questions, follow-up. Fortune is in the follow-up.
Yeah.
8 to 10 follow-ups. How do you follow up and keep track of all of these leads? It's a lot of leads.
Yeah, I have to tell you, you're probably not going to like my follow-up thing because it's so old school because
notebook and pen and paper.
Well, even worse than that. I had, it started in the notebook, but I transferred. You're going to laugh, but I had a recipe box. And it was like January to December. So all the people I talked to in January that weren't ready yet, I would write, like I do a card for each person, and I would write the things that we talked about, like their kids, what's going on in their life, they're going through divorce, like whatever our conversation, whatever information I gleaned from that conversation, I wrote it on their card. And then I would say to them, do you mind if I check back with you next month or 2 months from now or in April or whatever? And I would move it to that month. So I'd move them into April. And so I was constantly moving my leads around, but I never threw any out. Like honestly, and I can't tell you how many times, like 8 months later, I would call them and I would say, I don't know if you remember, but I ran into you, blah, blah, blah. And when we were talking, you were telling me about this and blah, blah, blah. And just thought it'd be a great time to check back with you. And a lot of times they'd say, oh my God, I was just thinking about you. Or I was trying to figure out how to get a hold of you. Like it happened all the time. So never throw away a lead. Just keep moving them around. It's all about timing, and eventually you'll hit on the right time.
I love that. That's so
It's very old school, but it worked for me.
Month by month to keep track of that many people is tough. I do it in my phone and my calendar and just
perfect.
I go, you don't leave my calendar until you enroll. I don't care if it's 2 years later, you're going in the future somewhere. So you can do whatever you want with that, but I think that's awesome. I also am simply just obsessed again with you saying, like, do not be behind social media and I also think people waste a lot of time trying to think and craft. And it's not an income producing activity most of the time. If you document your action, you're speaking way louder than anything you can come up with in your head. Go show people you were at an event, you're at a meeting, you're talking to someone, you're doing something, and then that's a huge way to show people what you're doing instead of talking about it.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I get in the Uber. I've recruited tons of Uber drivers since I've been with Isogenics. I've like referred them to people around here. Everywhere I go, we were at Top Achievers in Banff. I went out, I had to buy a sweater. I chatted the girl up. She ended up being the manager of the store. She joined. Wow. I mean, I still do it to this day, because if I still didn't do it, I wouldn't be good at it and I wouldn't be able to train to it. So I go to dinner with my son. I'll drive to Phoenix and go take him to dinner. He knows I'm going to prospect the waitress or the waiter. I've done it for 20 years. And he'll be like, you're going to do it, aren't you? And I'm like, you know it's coming. And now he chimes in because he uses Isogenics and he's into fitness. So he like helps me now. But if you make it part of your lifestyle that you just do it everywhere you go, you're not going to have to set aside time for prospecting, because you're just going to do it naturally. It will become a habit.
Mm-hmm. And my daughter had that observation when she came with me to Chicago. We went to a Shawn Mendes concert together. She had never really been with me like actively as I'm talking to people. She goes, Mom, this is like cool. You're just talking to people. It's not.
Yeah, that's all it is.
It's just having a conversation. So I'm going to open it up quickly for just a couple questions. We don't want to keep you too long. Does anybody have any you want to shoot in the chat thread or unmute yourself? Do you say something to the lady in line at Target when you see her buying 5-hour energy bottles? Good question, Mary.
Mary, let me, 2 parts to that. One thing I didn't mention is always have samples with you. Mm-hmm. I always have like isodelates, whey thins, bars. Like I always have like this Ziploc bag with a bunch of different stuff in it. So depending on the conversation I'm having with that person, and if they talk about weight loss, if they talk about energy, whatever, I always have something in my goodie bag at all times, because that's the easiest way to start a conversation with somebody. Everybody loves a free sample. So if you're scared to talk to strangers, use a crutch, use samples, because that's a great way to start learning how to talk to people, by samples, because no one's going to say no. They're completely open and receptive as soon as you want to give them something free. So that's one thing. So yes, in Target, if I saw somebody buying an energy shot, I'd say, have you ever used those before? Are you happy with it? Like I would just start asking questions. Do you like the taste? The reason I'm asking, I'm so curious, because I work for a health and wellness company and we have a version of that too that's totally natural. You know, would you be willing to try it to see if you like it better than what you're currently using? So it's just, you know, yeah, I could talk to anybody anywhere. You could give me any example and I will help you bridge the conversation.
I love it. That was so good. Notice that she also did not say those are bad for you. Would you like to try something else? So what do you like about them?
Are you happy with them? It's like you're asking their opinion.
What do you like? What do you like about the taste? Do you like the taste? Yeah. Oh, are you open?
Yeah.
That conversation, you know, and approaching people that use different things is easy. Krista, then do you give a sample and ask for their info?
I don't ask for the info. I text them my info. Mm-hmm. Let me text you my business card and I can follow up or give you a call back. Then you avoid that whole awkward moment of asking for contact.
Let me text you.
I want you to all go on and get a virtual business card. It'll be the easiest, best way to help you start transitioning to talking to people and getting their info. So
great. I'm going to share this with my mom. She has so many conversations and I'm like, you cannot take any of my business cards. No more, none. You don't get that.
Because it is that moment, and some people will just do it, but a lot of people go, no, like I have your card. I'll call you if I'm interested or if I'm ready. You can avoid that whole awkward moment.
I love it. Oh my gosh, you are a blessing. This was incredible. Would you guys agree? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Amazing. Just so many tips full of incredible info. Thank you, Kristina. Thank you for
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you want me back, I'm happy to help out.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That was
Right.
awesome. And then would there be a recording for the thing that you did earlier?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. We will post it out on the Isogenics business page tomorrow morning.
Awesome. Everybody's saying thank you, thank you, thank you. So awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank
Good.
you. All
It
right.
was great meeting you guys virtually.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Have a great
All
evening.
right. You too. Bye.